Alright, g'day and welcome everybody to another program. You're listening to the Forbidden History Chronicles with Ninja Cat 111, and we have Dezert-Owl standing by from the Forbidden History Series YouTube channel. Before we get into things, I just wanted I'd like to give an update on what's going on down under at the moment. There are other YouTube channels that are keeping people informed, but the information they're receiving is very limited, and that's not surprising. They're doing a really good job, and some of the information that I am putting out on my channel about what's going on down here actually comes from some of these other channels, and they're all based in the US. So yeah, there's lots of stuff going on down here at the moment, and the controllers don't want it to be known. So we've had a severe drought since winter, so that's when it all started. At the moment we're still in an extreme heat wave. The latest that's been going on, Queensland is flooding. Tasmania is on fire. They are not reporting all of these things in mainstream. They're trying to cover things up. It's not until things get extreme that you start to hear about it. Something, for example, trying to think of an example now. Oh yeah, a couple of weeks ago, South Australia was put on fire alert, and they were flooding the news here with warnings about the heat, and good advice and all that sort of thing. And we were hotter here. I'm in Canberra, ACT, which is in New South Wales. So anything that happens to do with the weather in New South Wales affects me because I'm in the middle. Anyway, we were hotter, and it was more extreme here, but there was nothing. There was no fire warnings, no advice about what to do to deal with this heat. It was all focused on South Australia, and that's what they've been doing. They've been shifting the focus elsewhere. In the meantime, the fish have been dying here in New South Wales and Victoria. It started on the border, which is the Murray River. It's now been classed as a catastrophe. Like it's a huge environmental disaster. There are millions and millions and millions of fish dead. The news touched on it. The mainstream news touched on it, but last night they had to come out and say that because it's noticeable. I even noticed that all the rivers are drying up, all the lakes are drying up, but the pond down the road from me is still there, which is good news. Now I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, they had to come out and say it because it's getting noticeable. We had some heavy rain a few days ago, and whenever it rains here, it doesn't last very long. It only went for about 20 minutes, and it was really heavy rain. And when it stopped and the sun came back out, because it's so dry and hot here, the whole place, like, it wasn't just around my area, it was because it was windy as well. So you'll see what I'm getting at in a minute. The whole place smelled like, I don't want to it smelled awful, and I didn't know why. I just thought it was because not much rain. therefore the place was all hot and dry and yucky. But I think the dead fish, it's that bad that the smell is in the air. I think I was smelling death, and that's frightening. Anyway, so that is extreme. That is really, really extreme. And the government is avoiding the issue, not talking about it, not getting involved, not going to see what is going on. They're just sweeping it under the carpet. Everything is controlled down here at the moment. Like I was just saying to you before, I've noticed 2 storm warnings in the last week or so that have been cancelled, and then we got a severe storm. Like, these are the 2 most severe storms I've had, and they're like clockwork. I get a storm here just about every other night, and the worst 2, dry electrical storms got cancelled, and we got the storm anyway. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're having record cold temperatures here for the next 2 days, 2.5 days approximate, and we're at 14 degrees right now Fahrenheit, and we're going to be for the next 2 days. The high each day will be 10 degrees, and the low at night will be about -6, and that's totally unheard of for Ohio, at least from my reckoning, and it's an extreme that is very dangerous, of course, for the homeless and people in general in this kind of condition. So my hair, my hair stands up, but when I brush it out in the morning, like it's got an electrical charge going through it. When we go out in the cold weather, this particular type of weather, there's no smoke that comes out of our mouth in this cold weather, so the atmosphere has changed, and so it sounds like you talk about the dry lightning and everything. It's everything is unnatural right now.
Yeah.
Because they have manipulated our environment and have been doing it now apparently for about 70 years, according to Dane Wigington. But certainly, I noticed the aerosol spraying approximately 21 or 22 years ago. I think it was circa 1997, 98 approximate, when I started noticing the chemical spraying. So that's over 20 years now for me, and so they've destroyed our ozone layer. We're getting UVC, UVB radiation. What comes after UVC is X-ray, and so our world is crashing. You mentioned all the plants in your garden. So my plants out front of my house, half dead. The evergreens in front of the house are half dead, dying from the core. So we're in a new phase in our planet's history, and it looks like we're going down. That's what it looks like we're about to be. Permanent history. Other than those who think are going to survive underground, I sure wouldn't want to be stuck with them, because they'll probably start eating each other's flesh after a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just really hit home with me. You just reminded me of a few things that I wanted to mention and couldn't think. Our temperatures at night have been extreme as well. Like, it just won't cool down. Up to between 20 and 30 degrees. Some places 35. This is Celsius. Overnight. And then, like, extremes, like it'll drop 20 degrees the next day, and then we'll be back getting slaughtered by the heat. It's like, I was going to say, it's like they're playing with us, like we're their toys, and it's not like they're playing with us, they are. That's what they're doing. And they're loving it, and the
stupid flying the jets haven't figured out that they're actually insane, and that they're obviously under full-blown mind control. The pay must be good, but literally at the same time they're destroying their planet, and And so what they're really playing with is nature and Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And they've destroyed our world. Our world is basically the white paper came out. It was a Higher Truth channel. Now the Higher Truth rises. The Higher Truth rises because they took down all of his other work. He read the white paper, showed us the white paper on his channel that they took down. And on there, the group of scientists came forward and said it was the aerosol spraying that destroyed the ozone layer.
Yeah. You mentioned you noticed it around 98. Yeah, I first started noticing it around 2002, 2003. So yeah, I love searching for truth, because since the age of 5 I've known this world is just very, very, I didn't feel like I belonged, and it felt off. And yeah, so I love looking for truth. I love seeing through all the lies. And but on the flip side, watching it all play out, and looking back over the last 20 or so years, when I really started to see things, I don't know how I haven't gone insane. How am I still here? Like,
We all have an innate survival instinct.
Yeah.
Some people give up.
Yeah.
Many people have, I think, killed themselves over the realization of our
Yeah.
insane planet, or the fact that they know that this one world order, old world order, not world order, nothing new under the sun, this old world Aryan faction that's been running our planet. They when they know that what they've done and what they're doing, especially many that are too close to the top or wake up that they're in the Illuminati families, they do kill themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Maybe seeing things gradually is like a better way to cope with it, because if you find out all this all at once, it's too much. Like, it's an overload. I can understand how people could react that way and just want to end it all. I can understand that. Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine me at this age suddenly finding out that the whole world is under a great deception, and the controllers of this world want to kill us all. Finding that out all at once, that'd be wow. Anyway, I think I've said all I need to say on Australia. I'll probably think of more after the program. I can't think of anything else right now. Just that they're swapping the extremes. It started with burning Queensland and flooding us, and then they swapped it. And Tasmania never has really bad bushfires, and now they're burning Tasmania. Yeah, it's crazy. There's something happening in a different state every day. There's some extreme thing going on down here. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get in. Hi Shelley, and hi Ya Love. Good to have you here. Alright, we'll get into your introduction, and we'll talk about some good news.
Well, then I better get off the phone then, right? Oh, no, we do have some good news. Sorry, you're right.
No, then we won't have a program, Desert.
I was looking at the bad news first, and now you got to remember. Okay.
Yeah, you're the word guy, so yeah, you have the good news.
Well, that might be the bad news, but other than that, it's a mix. Okay, it's a mix. All right.
All right. Okay. Let's continue then, hey, and we'll see what happens.
No worries. We should worry. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why did they say that down there? I don't get it.
I'd prefer all good right now. Yeah. Okay. No worries.
All right. Be guilty down there. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Introduction. The signs of the times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time. Who they are and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world. About who the giants really were and the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the earth-based misnomered UFOs which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cyber code has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology, and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. Excuse me. He can discuss the ultimate in mind control and ancient art and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV, and print media, while he can see, read, and interpret most all of it. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing, and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it, but they are cleverly leaving us in the dark. Hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed, and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water to tainted vaccines to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate, but they are all through with us now. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. And that was written by Dezert-Owl. Hello again. G'day again, Dezert-Owl. How's it going?
Hi, Ninja. Great. Thank you for having me again, and it's
You're welcome.
great to have a place to to say it as it really is, and just to get it out, because it's a lot of knowing that what you know is, and people for some reason still want to be on the political merry-go-round and think that somehow the political scene is relevant. They don't get that it's a one world order, meaning that all these nations of the world are just putting on the act of being independent political states when they are all servants of their grandmaster, whoever that grandmaster is, the unseen hand, and so it's rather tragic that people get caught up in the cartoon instead of getting into the reality of that they are on their own, that they came into this world alone, and they are on their own, and the most important thing they need to do is to figure out the truth behind the nature of our reality, the nature of the charade, and the nature of the reality, because they cannot get back home if they're following illusions.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, and I have, I know I had something on illusions here. It seemed to me, I'm looking at my book of symbolism, and I just remember that thing about. Let me just take a look real quick, because that illusion thing just made me think of what I read this morning. I'm going to back up. That was the Q. Let me back in. I'm going to P. And I had some reading I was going to share, but I wanted to. Law of evolution, parents, conditions give birth to higher. There's so much. I've really hit the books. I read sometimes 12 hours a day or more, and I'm covering so much ground. I can't remember where I was. Was it the last? I think every time I'm reading something, I want to share this, and then it goes a few days, and then I don't remember where where I was at when I was reading. So just give me a second here. I'll just we're in the illusion, and so let's just leave it at that. But let's talk about getting back home, and this. I use the word navigator as the original word for prophet, and in fact, the word navigator, which is the original word for prophet, actually goes all the way back to Adam. And because when you look in the Strong's Concordance, he was not the serpent; he was called the Naga. The serpent is the flesh, and so rather than give us the picture of his mental identity, they gave us a picture of his physical identity, which was the serpent, because he was enticed by his counterpart, Keva. He knew what that he could become a creator like Yahweh, and bring forth a creation, and being that he had all the hormones and all the the makeup that was opposite of what Keva had, Eve, then naturally the psychological challenge began to creep in, and ultimately the forbidden fruit, was the, what Eve was told, don't eat take advantage of that fruit. Obviously, it's the fruit of the loom, as they had named, the underwear up here in America. There's a company called Fruit of the Loom underwear,
Really?
And they're telling you, obviously, that it's the fruit of the loom. The loom, what was, the fruit of the creation, fruit of the creation, loom. Off the top of my head, because I just looked that up about a week ago, I believe it means creation, loom, and so a shalom, like we see it in the word a shalom, the peaceful creation. So they were destined to do the thing. In other words, it wasn't like they weren't supposed to do it, but it was, the point was that Adam was given a choice.
Yeah.
He was told, you do this thing, you're going to die, because in other words. And there's more to the story without getting into it too deeply. But so the point is that in the translations he's called the serpent, but yet in the Strong's Concordance, when you look it up in the Hebrew, the Yiddish Hebrew, I might add, he's called the Naga, which is an abbreviation of the original word, which is navigator. Navigator. And so it's the now, that which came down, ve, in the way, ge, for the sun's eye, the light of the sun, tor, with power. So the navigator, the one who came down with the eye of light or enlightenment with power. And so when I looked up where it said he was more, the serpent was more subtle. When I looked up the word subtle, there was the word Avram, A-V-R-A-M. Wow. Well, that's not subtle. What it means is he was a star ram. He was the ram star. He was as bright as the brightness of the sun. You see, and so that's how they mix up our words for us. So he was the one who had the knowledge that he passed on to his offspring, the Aryan race, that ultimately created all these great pyramid civilizations around our world. You know, that says nobody. How did they do this? We can't do that. If people want to, say it was aliens, of course, couldn't have been this powerful, race that, was, that belonged to the Aryan race. No, but they were the ones who enslaved all mankind, of course, and controlled the narrative. So, yeah, aliens, but, change the L in alien, you get Aryan, So it's right there in our face, and it's a big joke. So this Avram, which we find then in the same word Abraham, Avram, there's Avram again. You see, because Abraham was also a pinnacle character. But anyway, so going back into the Naga, the navigator is the prime root of what we say is navigator. Navigator. And 4 prime words, and with a lot of meaning in it. But it meant one who was conscious as to how everything operated in our universe and knew the way to go back home. You don't want to be stuck in the middle of the ocean and not have a navigator with you, right?
Right.
So he knew how because he hung out with Yeshua, while he made all things on earth, he was naming all things on earth. It's right. It's plainly stated right there in Genesis in regard to what I just said, in the atom, the Eden. And so I just want to read now. I got my second witness, okay, right here in the book on Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths, and under the word navigation, the great under maritime, symbolic of coordination of the astral mechanism in relation to the formation of the soul. And then it's using this term, and this comes from China. This is Chinese legend. Huan Ku taught navigation, passages through the mountains, and reigned as the first king of the human race. Okay, so there is Huan is fan, and there's the fan, which we find in the original word for the sun being sharfan, which is what we do when we sharpen our tools. The sharfan, it's got the little sparkle to it, like the sun. The sharfan, and it's sharp, and it's a power. It's a power instrument, the fan. So fan ku, in other words, so it's in reference then to the logo, and the logo. So fan ku literally means the owl sun power, the owl sun power, and so that would be the logo. Then is representing Yeshua. So Fanku, in essence, is representing the sun. But what is behind the sun is the one who made all things, Yeshua. It's the same legend. It's just wearing a different set of garments. And so it says, Fanku taught navigation. You see, the way back home. He was so powerful, in fact, he made passages through the mountains. Well, that's quite a bit of navigating, right? Making passages through the mountains. I thought we navigate on water. This one cuts right through the mountains. And reigned as the first ruler of the human race. Okay? So, to go on further, the Logos, or the divine mind, okay, so that's what we're talking about, the Naga, was the originator and the first ruler of the earthly soul. That's Yeshua again. Adam becomes an archetype, a duplicate of the first made, Yeshua. Also the first atom, and then we get Adam, the D versus the T. So teaching navigation is emblematic of the management of the astral mechanism, and is preparatory to experiences on the plane of desire. Okay? So we start in the lower plane and have to work our way up. The passages, like being cut through the mountains, just like, remember, Yeshua said that he will tear the mountain. I think it was John the Baptist said he will tear the mountains down, fill the valleys up, make plain the way, smooth out the way. The valleys and the mountains are smoothed out. So here it says the passages refer to the emblematic of tracks upon the mental plane. So emblematic of the tracks upon the mental plane, and from the astral plane through the action of manas. Manas being the mind principle. So Yeshua said, I will give you the true manna. No, your parents ate manna in the wilderness and they died. I will bring you the true manna, which is the mind principle. The true manna. Involves the human soul. Okay, so there's the word navigator right there, teaching navigation. And so it's obviously a powerful word that even, is used in the ancient Chinese mythology and cutting passages through mountains. It's about going back home. And then interesting, because on the facing page here, there's the word navel. Well, isn't that an interesting word for our belly button, right?
Yeah,
Navel?
yep.
You're going back home, man. In other words, that if you want to follow the trail back, look at your belly button, because it means you came from somewhere else, right? That's a symbol.
Wow.
And so navel, nave, means the way. And so the way you came, and then what was attached to you and your mother?
That's why I was wowing. I was just thinking that and didn't have the words. So yes, please continue.
Yeah. So what's interesting about, and then above that, look at this one, navigable. Okay, here, and I have a highlight there, and I just noticed it. It says that under this, we worship the guardian angel of Gael Marantan, Gaimanad, okay, the righteous. I'm reading from Essays on Religion of Paracelsus. So I don't know what source it comes from, but listen to this. The righteous, who first listened to Ahura Mazda's thoughts, okay? So it's another mythology wrapped up in other words and dress, but yet it's the same story. It's always the same story. And so who's Ahura Mazda? Well, it represents the sun again. It's the logo again, but in another tradition. And being that it's referring to Ahura Mazda, it sounds like the original Zoroastrianism out of Persia, which also recognized the one God, and that's why Cyrus, the king who conquered Babylon, let the remnant of Israel go back, because they were of a kinship. So again, I'm going to read this, that we worship the guardian angel of Gael Marantan, the perfect flowing light, who first listened to Ahura Mazda's thoughts and sayings. Out of body, he, Ahura Mazda, formed the central mass, the navel, of the Aryan countries, the surface of the Aryan countries. Okay, so that's rather interesting that here is the ancient legend claiming that the Aryan were at the navel of all of this thing. You see, so when you heard me talking about it one way, and now I'm giving you evidence from other sources, which is all relevant to who we are, where we are in this cosmic dream that we're in. So continuing, the divine nature of the archetypal man is extolled as carrying out the designs of the Supreme. That's what the Aryan was supposed to do, but even in their fall, because of their arrogant knowledge, they decided they could create pretend civilizations, which we now see in our modern time, from the ancient pyramid civilizations now to the skyscrapers, these great megalithic structures in another type, yet again are antithetical to our spiritual nature, yet they also serve a purpose for the divine one. Just like we can talk on the phone now from halfway around the world, we actually reach more people. So more people can still flow into that kingdom of heaven by virtue of this superficial, phony matrix that they've established, making us, fulfilling the axiom of being creators. That there's nothing that they won't try to create, but they're the masters of the grand illusion. So we're reading on here, the divine nature of the archetypal man is extolled as carrying out the design of the Supreme. From the form side, the body of the ideal man, the mental plane, symbolized by Iran, was evolved and derived centrally into higher and lower. Delphi, this is another quote, Delphi was regarded as the central point of the whole earth. That's in the Greek tradition, and was hence called the navel of the earth. And that's what they called Yoru Eshalom as well. It was called the center of the earth. I just never associated with the navel, but that would be the same aspect. And then we could also then refer to what's known as the cradle of civilization, falsely called Egypt, correctly called Mitzrayim, and that's also then would be the center of the earth. And it was actually geocentric, the Gazar pyramid, totally geocentric between all land masses of the world. And so continuing here on this other quote, it was said regarding Delphi that two eagles sent forth by Jupiter, one out of the east and the other from the west, met at Delphi at the same time. That's from Smith's Classical Dictionary. And the reference to the two eagles signifies that the self above and the self below advancing in the soul from the opposite sides of the spirit and matter meet at the junction point of the higher and lower minds when the two become one in the resurrection of the lower self from the dead, meaning matter. Okay? So, and the navigatable water is a symbol of the astral plane, whereupon evolution could be accomplished in the progress of the soul. So it's about navigating through the dark waters of this great mystery. That's the true navigation. We're trying to navigate when we get on the program here and talk about all the insanity of what's going on in our world. That's the true navigation. We're trying to find our way back to sanity and to reality in this great fallacy that has been given to us, an appropriate word when they all, put on top of all Catholic churches and all the religious churches, which one you want to talk about, even the Rock of the Dome, that Islamic round dome there, it's all symbolic of the male creative symbol, the phallus of the male, and it's which is actually a feminine by nature, in that it's a visible creation, and but it's a symbol of the light creation, but also a symbol of matter creation, and these people, like in India, they call it the lingam, and we see them where these priests are actually pouring milk and other liquids over the lingam, and then they're all massaging it, and they're all massaging it all day long. If there couldn't be something more pathetic than having a bunch of guys, massaging a symbol of the male sexual organ. I can't get over what they must be thinking in their minds when they're engaged in such a pathetic, non-ending practice. You get my point?
Yeah. Is that the symbolism of milk? Because I saw a run of that with the celebrities in music clips, and I think there was some sort of a protest, a women's protest, where they were covering themselves in milk and running around the streets protesting, and
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the milk is Malek. The word is Malek, and there's where we get royal messenger from. And so milk is the introduction of knowledge in the sense that it's for babies. Milk is for babies, and then it talked about the land like Ganon, being the garden that flows with milk and honey. We don't even associate Canaan with the word Ganon being the garden, but that's how they changed the word, so we would never get the picture that Canaan was Ganon and it was a garden. It was the lower garden. The higher garden is in the atom of light, the Eden, the sun. But so we have the duality. We always, in all these stories, have the duality. So the milk is for the babies, but the honey is the one eye. There's the word one eye in honey.
Okay. Yeah.
It's in there, one eye. So, and therefore it means, and honey is only a strong meat, and it's, for those who are enlightened. But the fact that they're pouring milk on the lingam then is indicative of the fact that it's, an introduction to something that is greater. So they're like the priests that are doing this all the time are sort of like another form of cartoon characters. That's not the true enlightenment. It's just a ritual that they engage in, and are certainly not enlightened, because if they were, they wouldn't be doing such pathetic ritual.
Yeah, no, they're mocking it. Mocking it and copying.
Right, that's a better way to put it. It is a mockery of our own of our own failing, of our own inability to see the reality and to buy into such, like what religion do you want to talk about? Because they're all following pathetic rituals that Yeshua came to destroy. He destroyed the priesthood, but then because he is spirit and he gave them free reign on earth and free will, then therefore they create another eclipse of the light, the lunar getting in front of the solar, and therefore bringing us back into darkness one more time. So here's another quote that I wanted to share. I had 3 of them out of the Mythological Dictionary today that I found rather profound. So this one is called Kama, K-A-M-A, and it means love, inverted, desire. A symbol of desire which is inverted. That desire is attraction to the outer nature, whereas love is attraction to the inner. Thus, the twain are antagonists. So that's sort of like what we were talking about, right? Instead of working on some lingam, some piece of clay or carved stone and pouring milk on it all day, what they should be massaging is their heart and what's inside of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All day long, meditating and creating light to the one who made the universe and saying, give me eyes to see, because I'm so blind, and so a symbol of desire, which is love inverted. Just hang on a second. Okay. So the world was, continuing, the world was fabricated from the body of a primitive being, a giant, Puresha. There's the word Aisha right there in this primitive text, but just corrupted with a U instead of an A. Puresha. Okay? A primitive body, primitive being, a giant, Puresha, dismembered by the gods. And this dismemberment is rather interesting, and now I'm going to show you a parallel in the ancient scriptures to show that the Mitzrayim, falsely called the Egyptian, and the Greek, and this one right here out of probably India, it's from the religions of India, is all telling the same story. Each of them pyramid civilizations, each of them having a mythology, and each of them telling a different story in another form of dress, another form of garment, and so when they were conquering the world and enslaving them, they all had a similar story, but with just different words, different pictures, but yet it was all really the same picture. And so here we go. So the world was fashioned from the body of a primitive being, a giant, Puresha. And Aisha goes back to the sun, of course, as well. So we can think of that. It always goes back to the logo. The Puresha, dismembered by the gods. Well, you see, the word gods is a throw-off because it's a term that we don't want to use. I'll define it later. I've got it written down for today. But so Elohim is the correct, because it's about the Elohim are the stars, the moons, the planets, and even the animals are Elohim because they tell a story. They're lights. Birds are symbols of spirit. The deer are symbols of the placid creation of simplicity and purity, innocence. All of those things. But dismembered by the Elohim. So even the atom itself would be Elohim because it's a spark. It's a spark of light that builds upon many sparks that come together to create multiple potentialities within nature. So, continuing, in the self-existent substance, Puresha arose, Kama, desire, and that was the first starting point in the subsequent evolution of being. Okay, so the desire, where does the first desire come from? Well, obviously, Yahweh, the great father of light, the one who made all things, because he wanted to bring forth a civilization that would be with him, to not so much to serve him, but to be with him, to not to be alone, to bring forth the creation of independent, free will, of free choice creation that said, I want to go with him, you see, and not be a part of this nonsensical illusion of deception and self-gratification that in the end, well, even in the beginning, is with death, and in the end brings the second death. The first death is the spiritual death, and the second death is the physical, mortal, ending. And so it's all part of the great mystery. So hearing this thing about the dismemberment, when I read that, I said, wow, there it is. I got it. I'm seeing something like I've not seen it before because, the story, do you know about the story of Osiris out of Mizar, Egypt?
I wouldn't be able to repeat it to you, but I've heard it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've heard it a little bit, right? So Osiris, he was, in other words, he represents the logo as well in that tradition, the sun, and he represents creation, and therefore he represents in that tradition who we call Yeshua, our soul navigator, our redeemer. So Osiris, therefore, and so it says that he was cut up. He was cut up into many pieces, and that Isis the mother tried to put him back together, but she could put everything back together other than his male sexual organ, the phallus, right? That was gone, and therefore everything was put back together, but the symbol of creation itself that they all seem to want to worship. Isn't that an interesting notion?
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? They're all worshiping the phallus, but yet apparently the phallus is missing on the one who brought forth creation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
so,
I'm following.
let me now turn to. Well, I'm sorry.
I'm following. Yep.
Okay. Now I'm going to turn to Dionysius. So hang on. I gotta turn to the D section now. Because it'll prove out, what I'm about to do is prove out, the mythologies are really telling the truth, but in their own tradition, in their own world, in their own, the priesthood were still corrupt. But what they're giving us is the element of a truth about our soul novation, in other words, where like in Meitzar, they have the Book of the Dead. And when you read the Book of the Dead, you find out it was about living pure and living right. And, Christians are turned off to it just when they hear the word Book of the Dead. They won't even look into it to be enlightened a little bit about another culture so that maybe they could put two and two together about certain things if they claim to be enlightened, but they're not enlightened. Therefore, they don't read nothing but, the King James, propaganda, which is just another version of this propaganda, but in another guise, you see. So Dionysius, or Bacchus, okay, interesting stuff when I read it. That's why I'm reading dictionaries, because in there we put two and two together. So a symbol, so Dionysius or Bacchus, a symbol of the higher self evolving in all the lower nature and born in the soul. Okay, so we all started in the fall, and that was the story of Adam and Eve. Even before they committed the act, that they said you're not supposed to do this thing, they were already in the fall.
Yeah.
Because they were in physical matter. So the action was just a representation of where they already were. And that's why we act as animals. Because, see, there's two kinds of love. We think of the physical, but yet physical is maybe selfish in certain aspects because it has to do with self-gratification. But the inner love is of a higher order because it cares more about the other being than it cares about itself.
Would it be, would it be a more clear way to say love and lust? Would that be a better way to...
Well, lust has a negative connotation, so we could say desire. Desire as being a generic. It's not good or bad.
Okay.
It's just desire. Lust. I would say if it's out of marriage, then it's no longer desire, but it is lust. and there's the word lost because you changed the U,
Wow.
L-U-S-T and L-O-S-T. People who are lusting in the world are lost because,
Yeah.
it's never satisfied. The cup is never filled,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's the same with drugs or, you see, and so it's a deception. It feels good, but in the end, you need another fix or you're dead.
Yeah, it's only
and
temporary.
So
Yeah.
Yeshua is offering us a cup that never runs dry and that is perpetually filled. And so that's the great mystery of what we have to discover is the higher order of things, and that's what we're looking to. So let's go in here now with Dionysius or Bacchus, a symbol of the higher self evolving in all the lower nature. All of nature is evolving, working upwards, and born in the soul. The vine, also the vein, known as the vein, like goes through your arms, that's the vine, the vein, with which the symbol is connected, is the same as the tree of life. Okay, so so it goes back. The vine, meaning the vine, goes back to the tree of life, which is the sun, which is a symbol because it's beyond the sun, which signifies the spiritual life, which ramifies. I like that word, ramifies. The ram. The ram is also a symbol of the sun. Ramifies through all things. It is the life force. Then wine, the blood of the grapes, symbolizes the spiritual truth and life, which intoxicates the lower nature and renders it powerless. So that's the death, you see, because that's why we have to be twice born. We have to be the second born because the first one is in the lower world. I'm continuing my read here. The Zeus in the order. Zeus in order. So Zeus is a parallel to Jesus or Yeshua. Zeus, in order to save his child, Dionysius, here we go, changed him into a ram. Now, think of those images we see in Meitzar on the walls in the temples of Egypt, right? They wear the ram's head, a man's body, but a ram's head of an animal, right? And they're telling those same stories here, so we see it here in the Greek. Changed him into a ram. Zeus, in order to save his child, Dionysius, changed him into a ram and carried him to the nymphs of Mount Nysa, who brought him up in a cave. And afterwards, and Yeshua was born in a cave. Abraham was raised in a cave for 10 years. Adam and Eve first lived in a cave called the Cave of Treasures, and were afterwards rewarded by Zeus as being placed in the Hades among the stars. Smith's Classical Dictionary again. So the supreme, the supreme order to affect the purpose of manifestation, set his emanation, Dionysius, under laws of limitation, the ram or the lamb. Now remember I said that, now here's the duality, because in Revelations when they call Yeshua the lamb, he wasn't the lamb, you've heard me mention this before.
Yeah.
He was the ram, you see? And so now they're showing that there's a play going on between the ram and the lamb. Which one is it? You see? And because the one who is transcended becomes the ram. The one who is still drinking milk is the lamb, right? You see?
Wow.
And so we all have to become rams.
Yeah.
We start out as a lamb. Okay? So and then it included with the word sacrifice. The ram or the lamb sacrifice. So that it should be developed in the lower nature of the soul in the cave. So that's where we start. We start in the lower and come out of the cave. At one point, like Lazarus, come forth. Right? Ray of light, come forth. Lazar, the laser. You see, he comes out. And so he's born a second time. And continuing by the Buddhic qualities, nymphs, which were afterwards united to the mental qualities as stars. And that's what he told Abraham. You'll have two different seeds coming out of you. One will be like the dust of the earth. And tell me, if you can count the dust, that'll be like your seed. And then another time, he says your seed will be like the stars of heaven. And if you can count the stars, then tell me that number, because it will be infinite. And then Bacchus, continuing on another excerpt here in the same definition, Bacchus, or the mundane intellect, is the monad, or proximity exempt producing cause. Bacchus is said to be the spiritual part of the mundane soul. I'm continuing because I'm looking for a certain part, and I have read this for a few days, so then I forget where I was looking. So I'm reading through this. This may be taken as meaning. No, I'm backing up here. Okay, the Platonists called Dionysius our master. So now we're getting a key. Again, you see that it represents Yeshua, the Platonist, Dionysius our master, or the mind in us as Dionysical and the image of Dionysius. And then continuing, this may be taken as meaning that Christ, our master, is our indwelling ruler.
Indglowing? Did you say indglowing?
He's the conscience that he gave us. He represents the consciousness of our being. For our mind is spiritualized and possesses the divine image. The divine image being light again, wisdom and love. So Dionysius, Yeshua, while as a youth, was particularly captivated with beholding his image in a mirror. Now you see, now this is metaphor, because everything down here is a reverse image.
Yep.
And that's what it's referring to in this mythology. This is a mythological idea. He's observing himself in the image, meaning he sees himself coming down in creation. He's spirit coming into physical matter, so it's a reverse image. That's why when Moses was on the mountain receiving the Ten Commandments, he said, "Can I see you?" And he says, "Well, I can only show you my backside." And that was so that we would get the picture. What he meant was that I can only show you my reverse image. And that's what that meant. So he couldn't show the true light because he would have been blinded by the light. And so we see things in reverse images until we are able to receive that light. So it shows then they were not able to receive that light at that time until the true master came, who is the mother star, Yeshua, representing the sun itself, the heart of creation. Continuing in this vein, during his administration, of which he was miserably torn. Here it is. So here's what I was looking for. I'm going to back up now. So Dionysius and Yeshua are the same character type here. While a youth, meaning while he was young, at the beginning of creation, all right, before the moon and the earth and Venus and Mercury and Mars all came into being, it was just a star. That's what it means here. Dionysius, Yeshua, while a youth. That's Yutha. Yutha means a star. That's Judah. Youth, Yutha, Judah, all the same. You see, it's the dot. The dot represents the sun, the smallest, the most powerful. The dot, the period, stops everything in a sentence. You see, get the symbolism, because symbolism rules, and you won't forget the picture. So Dionysius, Yeshua, while a youth, in the beginning of creation, let there be light, was particularly captivated with beholding his image as in a mirror, meaning he was bringing forth creation. During his administration, of which he was miserably, what? Torn to pieces. You mean just like Osiris in Egypt, and now we got Dionysius in the Greek mythology? He was torn to pieces. How? By the Titans. The Titans, remember, in the end of the product line are the Aryans, but in this metaphor, the Titans are the most powerful, and that is the atomic creation. The Titans are also the atoms. You see? The atoms. And the key is the prime symbol. It's the symbol that Yeshua was nailed to when he went back home and had the victory when he said it was finished, right? Finished.
Wow.
That which is at the beginning is like that which is at the end. That which is at the end, the macrocosm, microcosm, all the same. One end of the other. He says, I am the beginning, I am the ending, right? You see? Who not content in water, in the cosmic sea, and afterward roasted them by the fire, meaning he comes through the fire. We go through the cosmic waters, we come through the fire of a star. The way to go back, we go back the same way we came, through the water of immersion, and then through the fires of testing, to be found worthy of knowing these great mysteries and going back home into the light. And so this idea then of Osiris and of Dionysius, which it didn't elaborate as much as it does in the story of Osiris, where he's split into pieces, meaning he is the fabric of all creation, and then he's brought back together again in the final product, as we see in the perfect man, the perfect creation. That is why he said on the cross, it is finished. Why? Because he was going somewhere in this cosmic journey of creation. And when we see man on the scene, yet they're not able to receive the truth yet, because he had not finished the process of creation. And it comes by him being the perfect logo, showing us the perfect creation, who therefore represents the Father, represents Yahweh himself, the Spirit, in physical form. And as I just read today, in fact, it's a perfect point to read it. I read today in the 1 John, where it says, because that as he is, so are we to be in this world. As he is as spirit and perfect, so are we must needs be in this world, which Christianity and virtually all religion don't get, because it's all been covered up for us by priesthood. So the fact that is the prime symbol of creation, which all the Freemasons and all the occultists want to worship, the lingam, the phallus, the symbol of creation is missing and when Osiris is put back together, meaning the missing element, the one missing piece that is the prime symbol of creation is missing, and then Yeshua is the one who brings it back, because he brings us back to be born a second time, but not according to physical creation, but according to the etheric, spiritual creation. You get the picture?
Yes. Wow. And another wow.
So so they're being broken up into many pieces.
Yeah.
Is all of physical matter. He is all creation, and he brings it back to a final point in creation where he then allows us to transcend. He nails it to the cross. He says it was only temporary. It was only used as a conveyance, as an automobile to get us somewhere. And that's why in his last week before he was betrayed, when Mary, representing the Virgin Light, Mary, the word marriage is right there, the marriage that needs to happen with us, with the Spirit, and then he's begrudged by the betrayer, Judas, and he says, why, did she use this expensive oil to anoint your head and your feet? We could have used it to, get $300 and fed the poor, and I could have put a little bit in my back pocket. And instead he says, what, leave her alone. You always have the poor with you, but me you will not always have. And he says, and this thing that the woman, the translation is wrong, because it doesn't say it exactly in the words I'm giving it, but this is the way it was in the original. This thing that the woman hath done, the woman gets the bad rap, right? The woman is the smaller, the weaker, and then she's blamed for everything, right?
Yes.
And yet that's part of the lie, because the man was right in the game with her. He deceived her. She was naive. He knew the whole game, and yet he says, "Don't worry, baby. If we do this thing, you're not going to die." And he lied to her.
Yeah.
Because they died spiritually. You see, that's the most important death is the spiritual death, and that we have to rectify and get back connected with the Spirit, so that we can escape the mortal death that we all fear and dread. And so when he says that this thing that the woman hath done will be written about as a memorial for her, you see, because she served a divine purpose, even though physical matter by itself is not divine, to use that word, because that's not the perfect word either. It served as a house. You build a house, but one day you're going to leave the house, right?
Yeah.
You know that. You're going to leave, so your spirit is also going to leave the body. And so the body serves as a conveyance, as an instrument for activity, for having an experience in a lower world that ultimately we wake up to and know that we came from a greater world that is invisible to us, but yet this lower world is a reverse image. It is a reflection telling a story about the greater world that we come from. And so this is the story of being broken up. And and then everything come back. Yeshua is the one who brought everything back together at that final point of time called in Hebrews 9:26, the end of the world. At the end of the world, he conquered physical nature. He showed us the perfect creation that we can be within him, that we no longer have to fail. We no longer have to be, deceive ourselves, which is what we ultimately do. Our mind plays tricks on us. We lie to ourselves. We want that next fix. We want to play the game one more time, over and over and over, until all of a sudden there's no time left anymore, and we go to the grave, the second death, you see. So it's about waking up. So these stories are all saying the same thing, but Yeshua is the truth. Where all these false traditions are telling a true story, it all came through the Watchers, the Aryans, who fell and left their abode, and then, decided they'd rather conquer the world than to be spiritual beings. They were the true demons, the true, Hashatan or the Satan, whatever you want to call it. It's all just a verb that means nothing, other than the truth is that it was men who decided they wanted to betray their birthright and enslave mankind and conquer the world and then create grand illusions for us so that we can never figure out who and what and where and how and why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow?
Yeah.
Wow section?
Wowing.
It's a mouthful, and every time you allow me to fill it out one more time, I think I get closer to stating in a way it's not been heard before, Ninja.
Yeah. It's just you always manage to add a little more proof of what's really going on, and it's amazing. It's just amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We see Yeshua owns everything, right? So he owns these. Let's forget the slang, but these SOBs. That's what they are. They had no mommies. These people were raped right from day one by their parents, and in a generational cycle of deception and what do you call occultism? So they're all victims of their parents. They're all victims. We in different ways could have been victims of our parents. Well, I was through neglect, just through neglect. That's a bad enough. But these people were raped, as children by their parents and brought up in an occult ritual so that they will continue the game. You see, that's what we find at the Vatican, right? The ultimate symbol of pedophilia and ritual sacrifice of people. And so I glean it through the mythologies, these stories, these ancient. We've got the hardest thing is to get the thread, the thread of the meaning of these ancient words.
Yeah.
To make the parallel connection, because it was Clement. One day I'll read the writings of Clement in our presentations, and he said that that the law of syzygy is about duplication, and that basically just like the atom is a duplication, right? And that there's only one original atom, and that's the perfect creation. That's Yeshua, and then after that everything's a duplicate. And that's why Thomas, falsely called a twin, was really being called the duplicate so that we would remember what this is all about. It's about duplication, but then it all goes back to the one, to the source. We become like him. He became like us in the duplication of sequence of creation, so that ultimately then we could wake up to our true nature, where we come from, and go back and be like him. So that's the full cycle, and that's what he meant when he said it's finished. I have now given the example of the perfect man. I'm now going back home. I now have victory of light. Death has no dominion over me, and because I have lived my life pure. I've conquered the self, and so we purify ourselves. We go back to being a virgin in this mythological story. The virgin, meaning we're no longer going to have impure thoughts. We're no longer going to do those things that injured our conscience because we knew that they were wrong, and we put on the light. We conquer the self. We die to this world, and we are born, become the second born again into the spirit realm, out of this world, foreigners and strangers to this lower psychopathic insanity of game playing and lying to ourselves. And so in this duplication process, then we have. Don't lose your thought now, Desert. You're doing good. The duplication of where was I going, Ninja?
I don't know. You were talking about duplication and us putting on the light and becoming pure and ridding ourselves of impure thoughts. And is that help?
Okay, I got it. This is the law of syzygy. That thank you. So the law of syzygy means that because the Watchers, the fallen ones, knew the whole story.
Yeah.
You know, they knew what Yahweh was going to do, how he was going to save them from the flesh and bring them into a higher order of things. And but because they became enticed by the very sexy Irish redheaded spotted women down below wearing no clothes and having horse races and parties, you know, and they said, you know, that looks like a lot of fun. Do you think maybe we ought to do that? Yeah, let's go down and check it out. And then they go down and say, hey, man, this is great. And these people are stupid. On top of it, we can enslave them, have as many women as we want, and just, you know, and then make everybody else our slaves. We be the priesthood, and they all be our warfaring frontline class. We go conquer the rest of the world and get everybody working for us, guys. Yeah, that's a good idea. And so in the process, they created their mythologies, which were the stories of creation and how at some point a savior comes to save everybody into a higher eternal realm, and all the same story over and over.
Yeah.
But these were all the false traditions. The false traditions telling the true story that we look for at the end of the world in Yeshua, our Redeemer, what we call Christianity, which is another false narrative because it was the Mo'eshayakim tradition, the Mo'eshayakim tradition of the cosmos, the true cosmic story of the Mo'eshayak, mispronounced as Moshiach or Messiah or Christ, but is the Mo'eshayak in the most primitive. You're hearing it here first. And so the law of syzygy that Clement talked about is the fact that before the true one would come at the end of time, many false ones would come first.
Yeah.
Which were identical to the one that would come at the end of time. And that's why some people are saying that this tradition that we follow out of Jerusalem or Jerusalem in Israel or Israel, was just another version of the other versions. Well, it wasn't just another version. It was the only one that was destined to come that brought the true Redeemer to save mankind at the end of time 2,000 years ago. And all the others were just a duplicate of the original one that was from the beginning and then finally came at the end, you see.
Wow. I don't know how many times I've said that word today. Wow.
Yeah, but can you actually see this clearly?
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, it's a pattern that once you get the
it's a repeating pattern. Yeah, repeating pattern.
Yeah, in the nature of it. You know?
Yeah.
The hardest thing for any of us, I think, is to see how creation and nature evolve. You see, and so what they give us, of course, in the phony religion, is the priesthood magic of, oh, he just clicked his fingers and boom, that was there, boom, this was there, boom, this was there, boom, that was there. You see, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and boom, just click my fingers. It wasn't. It was a process of 6 billion years, not 6 24-hour periods. 6 billion, that shows how great he is, right? He's in no hurry. What's his hurry? He's great. He's always was and always will be. He's not going anywhere. So he allows creation to come in a most astounding process of alchemy and transformation of light into physical creation over a process. The mother star gives birth to planets. And it takes a while for them to cool down. The fires of Cain, that's what Cain represented, the fires of creation. It took a while for them to cool down. You see? And the water comes forth in the alchemical mystery, the waters. Through the fire come the water. How did that happen? You know? Tell me. Because it's all part of the supernatural.
Yeah.
Of this beautiful cosmic dream that Yeshua has created for us to figure out in the great mystery. No big bangs here, I'm sorry. Very long process. And Yeshua was part of it with Adam. Adam, it says, was the first made on earth before anything else was made. Once the earth came out of the sun and got its orbit around the sun, there was nothing here on the earth. And then said that from the fiery magma, he took him and placed him into the throne of the atom, the Eden, known as Eden. And from there, while all of life evolved on earth, while Yeshua made all things, Adam named all things. He was there for 3.5 billion years, naming all of creation and all the other civilizations that were here prior. The Aryan was the first made on earth, just like Yeshua was the first made in the cosmos. And then after all creation evolved on earth, and then the other civilizations were spontaneously generated by the Elohim. In other words, they all had their Adam and Eve, the black race, the yellow race. They all had the Cro-Magnon, the Neanderthal, all had their Adam and Eve. But then the Aryan comes last, who was given the job of bringing truth to mankind to save his soul, and instead decided he'd rather enslave him and not give him the truth, and gave him lies. And so the Aryan, so just like the Aryan came first on earth and was the last race to manifest, the same with Yeshua, the first in creation, the first atom, then becomes the last in order on earth to save mankind through the only true storyline, the original from the beginning, in Yeru Eshalam, the center of the earth, the navel. There we go. The navel of the earth, the true navel, because that's where Noah lived with Shem, and in Yeru Eshalam, known as the city of Shalem, and he was Shem was also Melchizedek, the one who built the great Gazar pyramid prior to the flood, and it's where after Abraham was born and Nimrod wanted to kill him, and after 10 years of living in a cave, his father Terah took him to Yeru Eshalam to study under Noah for 40 years, under Shem and Noah. You know, all the story they hidden away from us, all the legacy that belongs to us, how we got here, who we are, you know, all denied us, so that we're just nothing but brain dead animals that think we know something and ready to attack anybody else because they said something we never heard before.
Okay, I'm going to jump in if that's okay with you.
And maybe we're ready for a break, Ninja. I'll let you cap it off here if you want.
Okay. Thank you. By the way, that was like, oh, I didn't want you to stop talking. That was amazing. Yeah. I'm seeing. I didn't finish Kama, so when we come back, I can do that and then do words. And if you have questions, we can do that as well. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah. I should have been writing a lot more down. I can see it. Like, as you're saying it, I can see it. It's just once you can see the repeating patterns and the duality, like the deceivers,
macrocosm.
Yeah, the deceivers there's no originality there. They copy everything, and mimic everything, and that is the best way to pull off deception. Yeah, just the common themes, like you say, when you read several, like in all throughout history and different cultures, and just looking for the common themes. That's what we do when we're looking for truth, when we're sifting through the lies, and and I can see all of it, and it's amazing, and I just want to hear more and more and more. Yeah.
Well, 35 years ago, I was actually interpreting some of the Greek mythology, and I was amazed to find out that these were living stories, because we're all given the impression they're just stupid stories.
Yeah.
You know, they're just fairy tales. And then because I was interpreting scripture, then when I was reading the most ancient Greek mythology, and I'm saying, gee, I think this is a story about creation, you know, and I was reading as much as I could, and then, eventually I moved away from those books because it wasn't my deep focus, because I got the picture that these were original stories about creation, about the flood, and all these other things, but I didn't have enough depth in me to really assess them like I am now.
Yeah.
And so now I can show exact parallels to our Christian story in all these other, from India, Greece, Egypt, and wherever around the world. Native American, it's all the same. Like when I studied the Navajo sand paintings presented by Joseph Campbell, I was amazed to find the Savior story in the Navajo sand paintings, where they talked about you go on your spirit quest, you have to identify with your higher self, the twin, and you have to be twice born. It's all there. It's a universal spiritual tradition that is one, but yet there was only one navel, one source that we come through. Look at your body. You only got one navel, and that's the source of where you come from, and that is Yaru Eshalam, even though they were not worthy of it. And in the end, he had that citadel destroyed in 70 AD by Vespasian.
Wow, again.
Yeah, it's quite a mystery, but yet this is the beauty, that Yeshua is a revealer.
Yeah.
And it is meant to be known, and he's revealing it here, because I'm not worthy of it, nor was I smart enough to figure it out. It's by revelation. It's in the great mystery. And my life has been a cosmic journey. So he's brought us here to share it with the rest of the world. You're doing it, Ninja, when nobody else wanted to talk to me, and I don't get it,
Any time, Desert. I love this. I know I've said this several times, but I still cannot comprehend why you're not getting interviews all over YouTube. I love sitting. Yeah, I love sitting here hearing you tell it how it is. Tell us the truth, the beautiful truth. Yeah, I want everybody to hear it. So, anytime, Desert.
Well, good. Well, we're making time, and it's really great,
Yeah. All right. Well, do you want to go to a break? Because I need
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I need another cup of coffee. I don't know about you. We have sunrise here. It's just coming up. I just looked out the window. So yeah, sunrise. All right, we'll go to a break, and then we will continue with the rest of the program. And Ninja has no words this morning. I'm just wowing. Okay, just find this music, and we'll be back soon with the Forbidden History Chronicles.
4, listen to yourself. 2, to log the conference. 3, to record the conference. 4, force increase.
Okay, welcome back. Sorry for the delay there. I'm just going to read out Desert's information. His website is now back up, so if you go to www.therealpublicradio.net, that's www.therealpublicradio.net, all one word. That's where you can donate any amount, big or small, to help towards the transliteration project, which is really starting to get underway. Desert's organising a computer. He has one now. He's just has to get it up and running. And yeah, as you've been hearing on these programs, he's got a lot. He's got a lot to do. So I'm looking forward to that. And also, for any size donation, or if you don't have the money and you want copies, we'll get them to you anyway. You can contact Desert through me. My email is in the description on every live stream. To get the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary, or a copy of the Book of Wisdom, or a copy of a sample of the original Gospel with a more up-to-date version of the dictionary attached. They're great reads. I have all three. Yeah, they're fantastic. They walk you through it, make it easier to understand. If you want to speak to Desert directly, you can call him on 608 566 7295. That's 608 566 7295. If you're international, just add a +1 at the start. And I think that's it. All the contact details are in the description. Anyway, so we're back. I had to take a few deep breaths at the end there, just before we came back, and I apologise. I just saw a notification. I just want to say hello to Take. G'day, how's it going? Welcome. And to everybody else, I've said hello in the chat, but I'll say it out loud as well. Lynn and Ya Love and Shelley was here, but she had to go. And who else? Was that all? I'm just checking. I don't want to miss anyone. Yep, that was all so far in the chat. Anyway, yeah, I had to take a few deep breaths. At the beginning of the program, we were talking about what's going on down here in Australia and all the misdirection and cover-ups, and the fact that even I have to get some of my information from YouTube channels based in the US, because they're not telling anybody anything. And what I'm seeing from here at ground zero is conflicting with what mainstream is putting out there, and the US channels are doing a really good job, but they're not getting all the information because it's being so twisted and hidden. And one of the channels that I follow, I'll just get it back on the screen so I don't get it wrong. I just saw in my notifications, just going down the list to find it again. It's called, there it is, Evolutionary Energy Arts YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the description. The heading is Millions of Fish Dying. Well, we know that. They can't hide that anymore. And the next line is birds falling out of sky dead, and that just really hit home with me. Here in Canberra, I put up a video very recently. It was day before yesterday. We actually had a comfortable day temperature wise, and got down to the pond. Because of this heat, we haven't been able to leave the house, and it was really nice to get out, and the pond is still there. That hasn't dried up. There's still fish in the pond. The little guppies, the little tiny ones where you walk to the water's edge and they swim away really fast, those little ones, they're still there. There's still ducks and swans, and there's a pelican. We have two, but I saw one, so I don't know. Hopefully the other one's still around. Yeah, and there were birds flying around, little starlings flying around all over the place. It was full of life, but what was missing were the dragonflies and the flies, the blowflies. We're right on the edge of cattle country, and the one disadvantage to going down to that pond on a summer's day is getting bombarded by flies, and there were none. So yeah, the insects are almost gone. And correct me if I'm wrong, but don't birds need insects to survive? And don't birds need oxygen to survive? Clean air? And now they're falling out of the sky. Yeah, so just connecting the dots. And the heat, we've already had most of the flying fox population in Queensland during the Queensland fires. This was not reported. I saw it once on mainstream news about a week ago, and this happened at the beginning of summer. They're all gone. They fell from the sky, just like the birds are, because of the heat. I have a big tree out the back, which is normally filled with bats at this time of year. They migrate down here for the summer. They were late getting here, and I've seen about 3, compared to countless numbers. I wish I could go into Civic, the main part of Canberra, where Lake Burley Griffin is, because in the evening down by the lake, all the bats come out, and it's just a wave of bats flying around just after sunset. They cover the entire lake, and I'd like to be able to go and have a look and see if that's still happening. So I can only go by what I'm seeing from my backyard, and there's 3 bats. So the birds falling from the sky was just the next thing. It was almost expected, and it just really hit home with me when I saw that. So anyway, continuing. Desert, would you like to jump in before I get upset again?
Well, it's our world is crashing. We're just going to witness it all go down. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. So.
Yep, they've done a number on us. So we're witnessing the end of. There were people who were here at the beginning, and then there's people here at the end. And so I don't see anything but our world crashing on us, and that's the way it is. It's the sad reality. But the people, we want to blame, say, everybody's at fault in a way, the way, people say say it, but at the same time, everybody's been under a mind control program that has been perfected a long time ago, and so there's people who fight, to fight to defend the lie. Good people will fight to defend the lies because they can't wrap their mind around the grand deception. They just can't. They've been controlled. They've been conditioned. They've been programmed. They on a subconscious level. It's just the way it is. I remember my daughter. When I had a young family last century, and
oh, that's funny. Last century.
My daughter was sitting on the floor, and there'd be a TV program on. I was still watching TV at the time.
Yeah.
And she would just play with her toys. But whenever the commercial would come on, whenever it was commercial, she stopped what she was doing, turned around and watched that commercial. She was hypnotized by it.
Wow.
And I noticed that.
Wow.
Wow. How come the commercial every time pulls her in, and she don't move while that commercial's on? And what would it be her interest in soap or whatever else they're selling?
Yeah.
But there was something there that little sensitive mind was drawn like a magnet to. So they do. It's been proven out they do all types of tricks in their advertising and the subliminal programming on the television.
Yeah.
And that's the way, someone has found those little quotes that they used to put up, and they slowed them down and showed them and said, "Don't question government.
Yeah, yeah.
Believe everything your preacher tells you." Or, whatever.
Or
it was
buy
like,
Coca-Cola.
wow,
Yeah.
Yeah. So their stuff has been proven out, and so we got the best slavery money could ever buy, and there's no money either. That's the funniest part. People still talk about money like there is some, and there is none. It's all labor. Labor is what backs everything, because people are willing to do a job for these people to get a little more phony labor units to go ahead and buy some bread. They have to, pay the bills, and so they'll go. Everybody goes to work, but the organized clique is at the top, and we're at the bottom.
Yeah.
And there is no way to reverse it because it's been developed over a long process. Long process.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, can I just say some comments in the chat? People are talking to you, Desert. Take says, Desert, you do so much, thank you. And Lynn says, yep, my sons too, with the commercials. Her sons. Yeah.
And hello to everybody out there, and Take Jill Devil, thank you, and Lynn, thank you for always being there. So, and everybody else, of course. So, I know we're grassroots, and that's okay, because the truth is not for everybody, and to be able to, figure out the mystery. Most people are so busy, they're so busy just trying to get some food on the table and pay the rent. They worked it out that way, so Monday you're broke again. You got to start all over, and people are tired. The food is bad, the water's bad, the air is bad, everything's bad. So how do we? I read my scriptures, and I find out the patriarchs lived to be 140 years old. Abraham lived to be 175 years old, I think it is. Geez, that means I'd have another 100 years left in me if I were one of them, and I'm already down for the count at age 62. And they lived an extra 100 years. How did that? Amazing time difference. They ate pure food, they had pure air, they lived under the sun, intense. Pure oxygen, no pollution. It was just times are different now. We're worn out by the time we hit 50.
Yeah. I'm 46, and I've had it. I'm exhausted. Yeah. But I'm a ninja, so I'll keep. I'll keep moving on.
So did you have some questions? I wanted to just maybe shift gears. I felt like I really got out a lot of energy on that.
It was good.
Rather relax and just answer questions for you if you got any.
Okay. They're all over the place at the moment, but I do have some.
All right.
I was looking yesterday afternoon, I was actually trying to find another PDF of the Fenton Bible, maybe available in sections, so it didn't take so long to download. Anyway, I came across a list, and it was a incomplete, not completed yet because there's so many, incomplete list of almost 300, I think it was 270 different translations and versions of the Bible since the early 1800s. And I was my jaw was on the ground. Like, I knew there was several different versions of the Bible, but as you know, and as most of our listeners know, I'm still very unfamiliar with Scripture. But I'm getting there. I know the main stories, and I know the true versions of them, thanks to you, Desert. That amazed me. But the other thing, like this person that was doing this, compiling this list, they were on the right track about how religion, and we don't need a building to, I don't want to say worship, but like with all the deception with the Bible, like they were on the right track, but they still didn't get the big picture, because on that list was also the Fenton Bible and the Lamsa Bible. And I thought, no, that's not right. But the amount of the way it's been, like, they've done it, like they've got a Bible for every walk of life now. Like, they've got the woman's Bible, they've got the children's Bible, and there's several different versions. They've got, I wish I had the
non-offensive Bible, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I wish I had the list in front of me. They've got a Bible for, I don't mean to.
The Islamic Bible. Oh, yeah.
I don't mean to say anything bad about anyone. That's not what I'm saying here. But they have a Bible. They have a gay Bible. They have
there you go.
a black Bible
I thought of that one.
Yeah, they have a black Bible. Like, I don't care what colour anybody is. You could be pink with purple polka dots, and I'd still talk to you. But they cater for all walks of life, all races, all sexual preferences, and aren't we supposed? Like, the Bible is not supposed to cater for us. It's not supposed to be changed to suit us. That's
right.
the opposite of what it's
run by.
Yeah.
By the Illuminatis, right?
Yeah. It's the complete opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. So.
They probably ought to have a program called Design Your Bible, and you can actually get it to say what you want it to say, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'll Google that and see what I come up with.
One of the biggest, crack-ups I heard, talking about all this insanity, was when I learned that there were actually gays for Islam. I thought that was quite a movement. Gays for Islam. Geez, if they get you, they throw you off the top of the building. And you want to support, Islam. So it just shows you how crazy our world really is. Because people don't know anything, and they'll support anything, not knowing anything.
Blind faith.
Just like with donations, for you go to the store and they say, oh, would you like to donate to the Better Idea program, to help crippled people or something? And my pat answer will be, I don't give to any I don't give to any organization I don't know anything about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's my answer.
Yeah.
And the ones I know about, I don't give to them either, basically, because I've learned that they're all scams.
Yeah.
You know, Red Cross.
Yep.
You know, you name it. Okay, you name it. They're funneling money from the people, and they give 5%, 2% to that good cause, and the rest of it they put in their pocket, or like, you know, the cancer fund. You know,
Yep.
the cure for cancer has been, there never was a cancer problem. It's only, they're the problem. You know, they are the gatekeepers that are making sure that the real truth about cancer never comes out.
Yeah.
You know, they're the gatekeepers. So it's just, so I'd rather give my money to a poor family directly, you know, than to, you know, just like the thing with all the fires in California. They make these corporations that are now going to take the money, and apparently the only one giving out the real money, the real dough, is Jamie at a plain truth.
Yeah.
.info, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
YouTube.
Yeah.
The plaintruth.info, YouTube.
Yeah, I'll put that link in the description as well. Yeah. I've mirrored a few of his videos. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's insane. You know, we're in an insane world, and there's the thing is, Fenton and Lanza, for the record, are the two most important transliterations out there. The two most important, Lanza from the Aramaic, and Fenton from the Greek and the Hebrew. And the only reason it comes from the Hebrew is because they stole the Aramaic out of the Old Testament, you know, from the materials he was using. But, you know, there are no originals of anything, and so we just have to go back and look at everything now. That's what I do. I don't leave any stone unturned. You know, people get concerned about the translations that came through Westcott and Hort because they were Jesuits, but you know, Fenton actually utilized theirs, and he's produced the most powerful translation of them all, using, you know, the source materials that were brought to us by Westcott and Hort. So it just proves that it's not, you know, because you got a couple of Jesuits with their hands on it. It's about really the translator, you know, because the translator, you know, and so that's all I'm saying is because I was amazed, you know, when I saw that he was using their materials, because that's all I've only heard negative about Westcott and Hort, but show me any transliteration better than Fenton, okay? And I'll eat my hat on YouTube, all right?
Yeah, well, like, how are you supposed to get to the truth if you don't sort through all the lies and look at all the lies? I mean, there's no way. That's this world. So yeah, you have to use whatever information you can get hold of to get to the truth. Because they've had millions. I don't know. They've had a long time to get to this point with the deception, and there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer to sift through. So yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying, Desert.
Was that a question? I didn't get that.
Good on you. I do have one more. I have an actual question that's a bit shorter.
Oh. You're becoming a regular radio host here, Ninja. You look out.
Oh, thank you. I'm feeling pretty wordless today. Sorry, Aisha-vorless. Today, but yeah, I'm getting into the swing of things. I'm just glad you can spark like a million words a minute, yeah, and translate Australian, yeah. Okay, question. When I was looking through this list, I noticed reference to AV with the Bibles, and I wish I had printed out the list so I could say the paragraph. Yeah, I don't know what's the reference there, like AV, yeah, in regards to
version.
Okay, I just saw the symbolism with the AV, and yeah, just had.
Oh, wow, that is interesting. I never looked at it that way.
Wow.
Yeah, the AV creates the star, 6-pointed star, right?
Yeah, Wow.
Yeah, that's a good point. See, that's a little bit of motif there, and that people get blinded by the light of the fall star, and that's what they did with the authorized version.
Wow.
You're doing good.
Ooh, thanks. Okay, another question. Just let me sift.
You're seeing things. Look
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I can see more than I can say, Desert. I can't say it all. I can't get it all out. That's why I'm so glad you're here, because I try and explain it and then you translate. So yeah. Okay, I'm looking for another question. I have questions everywhere. Oh, there was a winter storm. I just spotted this. There was a winter storm.
It's snowing outside right now over here.
Yeah, well, the one before that, in your part of the world, called Harper, which made me think of harp, which made me think of controlled weather. So that wasn't really a question. I just just a little note. Okay, I'm just reading. Sorry.
Right.
I can't find anything good. While I'm looking, I just spotted what I wrote down before the program regarding the word loopy desert, because people actually know me as Loopy Ninja in Duck's live stream. I'm Loopy Ninja. Loopy Ninja.
Are you saying Lucy? Lucy Ball?
Loopy. L-O-O-P-Y.
Loopy.
Yeah.
Loopy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The pull thing. Yeah, backwards.
Yeah. Which, what's the next one, Desert? I'm quizzing you.
Right. If you do loop backwards, you get pool. But if you add the H, you get fool. And a fool is what it means. How did I say it when we were talking earlier?
A fool goes around.
He goes around in circles.
Yeah.
He goes around in circles.
In a loop. Loopy.
Yeah, in a loop.
Yeah. So, wow. I thought that was really cool.
In the pictures, right? The circles.
Yes. Sorry, I'm reading again.
After that last presentation I did, I pulled the wind out of me, so I'm feeling pretty right for my senior citizen nap now, I think. So
yeah, well, I've had 2 hours sleep.
Steer the program, otherwise we can wrap it up. And anybody, if they want me to three-way them in, I can three-way people in that are our regular friends that come on if they want to come on and ask questions. So then I can get their information prior to the program and know to call them during the program, and can like we did with Shelley on Sunday a week ago. We brought her on and we had fun with that. So
yeah. Okay. I'm kind of beat right now too, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I know you got things to take care of, but if you get Skype on your phone, you can probably take calls on your phone. I don't know if you can do it while I'm on at the same time, but there's got to be a way you can take calls by Skype. That'd be really great if you can figure that out.
Well, I've got Skype on the computer, but remember when we tried it, and I don't know how I sounded, but we couldn't get good sound from your end. So
that's right.
we can test it again, though. We can test it again now that I'm a bit more techie.
All right. Well, once I get up and running, then we can try that.
Okay.
That'd be a good way to do it.
Okay, good. Because I don't know how to. I have the option to have more than one caller on my phone, but I can't get to. It doesn't allow me to get to the symbols to add the caller, even though the option's there. I don't know. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'd be great to get a caller generated program, because people are trying to figure things out, and we can get right to the issue, what they're trying to figure out, and help more people that way.
Kev just arrived before we go. Kev just arrived and he'd like to ask a question. So yeah, go ahead, Kev, or you can call Desert, and we and we can have a caller generated end of program. Just waiting for the question to come up in the chat. Desert.
Oh, she's typing the question. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the meantime, when are we on here, Joe? Give out our times.
5 a.m. Aussie time, which is 1 p.m. US time, Eastern Standard Time. Is that right? Desert time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on I'm just thinking time zones. We'll go with US. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. As often as we can. I know that we've missed a few programs, but we are trying our hardest to stay regular. So anytime a program is cancelled, I'd like to reassure everybody that the times are staying the same. So yeah, I'll read the question. Okay. Yeshua is the light of creation, and my sole purpose is to let go of everything else to return to our Heavenly Father. This is what I've come to understand. Is it that profound and simple? Thanks. And that was the question.
Yeah, well, that was a beautiful statement.
It was, wasn't it?
Well, the attitude and heart we should all have. So
yeah,
we surrender to the light of Yeshua. He is, as it says in 1 John, He is light. In Him is no darkness at all. The Father and Yeshua are one. And so it's just a continual study. He's a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. And so diligent means, diligent. And so it means we've ceased from living our own lives, and we are living His life. And therefore He wants to fill us with His great breath of the wind and fire, His Holy Spirit. And by continuing in well-doing and seeking His fulfillment, then we can have the ultimate experience of transcendence, and that's the objective. It's a marriage. We want to have a marriage with His Spirit, and so that will only happen to a few, because it's easy to get religion, but it's not. People are still caught up in the world, and therefore that's why we see 600 versions of Christianity.
Yeah.
Because that's Babylon. That was given to us by the occult so that we would be lost. They want us to be lost. And so Yeshua, my prime scriptures was to separate yourself, be a separate people, and I will have supper with you. And so I separated myself. I did homeschooling, home church with my family at the time, and then then I saw things with new eyes. My eyes were open. I collected books. I ended up with 2,000 books on the shelf and 60 different translations of the scriptures, and it just unfolded. So everything's in our favor to have a great relationship. We have to forgive ourselves if we've done wrong. We have to forgive. We would be the first ones to want to beat ourselves up, and so we have to know that He's forgiving, and then we have to just come to terms with our situation, to look at everything, analyze everything, that we do meditate, be still, pray, meditate, and read, and have our whole attitude directed towards Him, and then it all opens up. But people who are just doing 45 minutes on Sunday, that's of the world. It's a 24-hour, 24/7 relationship. It's a surrender and it's a separation from this world. Doesn't mean we can't do things in the world, but there's certain things we're not going to do because it would not honor our conscience nor our Redeemer. And so we have to put certain things off because it brings death. So it's part of the great mystery, but just keep reading, and certainly check out our broadcasts where we talk about things nobody else is talking about. And on my channel also the Forbidden History series, 4 words, the Forbidden History series. And then start June 21st in last year, 2018, June 21st, when I started the new series. And you'll hear those first 2 weeks I unloaded more stuff nobody's talking about that will help bring things into a greater focus and perspective. So as I used to say on my program, it's not what they're saying that you want to hear, it's what they're not saying.
Yeah.
They're the not saves. They're not saying what we want to hear. Just like they don't care what the answers are, as long as you're asking the wrong questions.
Wow. that was a fantastic answer. Yeah. So, Kev, it's just I'm lost for words, Desert. The way Kev put it was beautiful. It is profound and simple, but because we've been so conditioned, that's why it's such a challenge. Like, it can be really hard to change, but that puts it into perspective. The question and your answer. It's profound and simple. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, then, why don't we call it a wrap? I'm losing my voice. And,
yeah, me too. And
we'll look for what today is Tuesday, so we got Thursday then.
Yeah.
Are you looking at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Oh,
we'll
good.
do Thursday then, and in the meantime, I want to thank you for the opportunity. And be safe down there. I know it's not safe to be in the sun anymore. Use all protection, everybody, and filter your water. Watch your food, read the labels, whatever. But everything's against us. The only thing for us is Yeshua, and He will give us a barrier of protection that is unsurpassed. He is the pure shelter, and He is the only love, the only source of love. There's only one source, and that's from Him. And He teaches us the right way to go. So with that, Ninja, I'll let you go, and thank you so much for all your great efforts, and we'll talk to you in 2 days then.
Okay, thank you, Desert. Peace and love always.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya. Okay, you heard it here first. Desert didn't say it, so I'm going to say it. I wrote it down. What they don't want you to know, that we tell right here. If you want to know the future, don't forget that you just need to look for the Forbidden History Chronicles and the Forbidden History series. But the Chronicles is right here every Tuesday and Thursday and Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US. I want to thank all of you for listening. It was amazing as always. Love you guys. Stay safe and well, and warm or cool wherever you are, and talk soon. Okay, see yous.